We've got balls.
Born in Pittsburgh, Leon Hart proved to be a superior athlete from a young age compared to his peers. As a star in the gridiron, he never lost a single game as a member of the Turtle Creek High School football team. When it came time to select a college to attend, Hart didn't suffer from lack of choice, as a number of schools including Penn, Columbia, Tennessee, and Pitt all came calling, but he decided to play under Coach Frank Leahy at Notre Dame, and during his time at South Bend from 1946 to 1949, the Irish were the juggernaut of college football, never losing a single game in that span and finishing as the national champions 3 times. This dominance was in no small part thanks to Hart's contribution to both offense and defense, and in 1946 and 1947, he spent the majority of his time as a role player and a blocker on a team led by the eventual Heisman winner Johnny Lujic. Once Lujic graduated and made his way to the NFL, Hart was primed to take over as the team's leader, and under his guise, the Irish set a new team rushing record in 1948. For his role in the national champ's success, Hart received his first consensus All-American honors. The following season as a senior, Hart caught a career-high 19 passes for 257 yards and 5 touchdowns on the way to his 3rd national championship victory. Hart also took home the Maxwell Award and of course the Heisman Trophy, making him the 3rd Notre Dame player to do so in the 1940s. Hart also became only the 2nd player ever drafted to win the national championship, the Heisman Trophy, and be drafted 1st overall in a 1-year span. Only 2 men have accomplished this feat since, Cam Newton and Joe Burrow. The Detroit Lions were a middling 4-8 team in 1949, with one of the league's lesser offenses led by Bullet Bill Dudley, who, as stated in my previous video about him, was traded to Washington in the subsequent offseason due to fears that he might attempt to exercise his coaching option during his contract. At quarterback was rookie Frank Tripucka, whose modern legacy consists of being the trivia question, whose number was unretired by the Broncos to give to Peyton Manning. On defense, things were slightly different, as while they did surrender the 6th most points in the league, they finished 3rd in yards against. In short, the Lions had some work to do if they were going to build a contender. Now, you hear about a handful of franchise-altering offseason occurrences, including the Herschel Walker trade, the Steelers draft in 1974, the Bucs draft in 1995, and the Brady and Manning signings in free agency. The Lions' 1950 offseason belongs in that company, and no one has ever said so much as a damn word about it in the past 70 years. Even on top of the Lions taking Hart with their bonus pick, Detroit was in the midst of a complete offensive overhaul. First, they obtained the 3rd overall pick from the previous year's draft, Doak Walker, in exchange for John Rauch, who was taken with the pick before him. However, things became a bit complicated when the Browns, who were then part of the ill-fated AAFC, staked claim to Walker's rights. But after some pressure from Commissioner Bert Bell, the two sides were able to come to an agreement, and the Lions were able to replace the one Hall of Fame running back they had with another. But they weren't done, as out went Frank Tripucka, and in came former Texas star Bobby Lane, who was acquired via trade from the New York Bulldogs in exchange for wide receiver Bob Mann, who was soon after cut by New York, likely under some morally questionable circumstances. As far as other key players acquired by Detroit during the 1950 offseason, there was future Pro Bowl running back Bob Horschenmeyer, who was selected by the Lions in the AAFC player draft once the league folded. They also added Pro Bowl defensive lineman Thurman McGraw, and Hall of Fame guard Luke Creekmer in that year's amateur draft. Needless to say, the Lions had a very different look entering the 1950 season. Ahead of his rookie year, Hart signed a 3-year deal worth a reported $20,000, and right off the bat he was a solid contributor, starting in each of the team's 12 games while gaining over 500 yards. However, there was one thing missing from Hart's 1950 campaign, and that was his scoring output, or lack thereof, as it took him all of 8 games to score his first and only touchdown that year. But on the bright side, it was a 66-yard reception, which ended up being the longest play of his entire career. The next season, however, was a completely different story, as he went on to score career-high 12 touchdowns, with multi-score games coming against Chicago and twice against Green Bay. He also gained a career-high 544 yards, on top of being named to his first and only Pro Bowl and lone All-Pro roster. The Lions finished with their first winning record in 5 years at 7-4-1, and they had the league's 3rd-ranked offense. Though Hart never reached the same statistical heights again, he continued to have a role in the Lions' offense as they shot to the top of the league. But unfortunately, in 4 championship appearances, he was unable to score a single touchdown. At the end of his career, he began slotting in at fullback and had a bit of a resurgence in 1956 with 464 yards from scrimmage and 6 touchdowns. But by the next season, his role became greatly reduced, and he started 0 games and gained fewer than 200 yards for the first time in his career. And following his 3rd and final championship victory in 1957, he retired. Following his playing days, Hart operated a business that manufactured equipment designing and balancing tires. In 1993, the former Irish star was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, and both his son and grandson followed in his footsteps, playing their college ball at Notre Dame. Hart passed away in South Bend in 2002 at the age of 72, thus ending the story of one of the finest winners the gridiron has ever seen.